to the tutorial for the CS 1030 assignment for databases and SQL. Welcome. Glad you're here. Of course, I'm not precluding that I might use this for another class. For this assignment, you want to have the full desktop version of Microsoft Access. You cannot do this online. You cannot do this on a Chromebook or a tablet or even a phone. You want the full desktop version. So if you are having trouble unlocking that, you have to go to 365 and use your school login information and then download it to your machine. You can also download a free trial. So you actually don't need login information if you're just going to use it for this one assignment. But you will need it. And once it opens up, you just want to create a new database. You can name it whatever you want. I've named mine CS 1030 assignment up here. When you go to name your tables and your columns, you don't use spaces. That'll throw everything off when we get into the coding portion of this assignment. We're going to learn some things with the standard query language, which is a coding language, and all coding languages don't like spaces very much. So you just learn not to use them. And so the first table I wanted you to make was just with your class schedule. And I've already given you the columns. And so the columns are your class name, your class title. So right here, we're just going to double click here. And we want it to be short text. So we're going to get the data types later on. But just for now, you want to click short text. And it's going to be class name. Next, we're going to be room number, which is also short text. Notice I'm using what's called Hungarian notation here, where I don't use spaces, but I capitalize the first letter of every word so that your eye can still see it. Next, I wanted your period number. Next, I wanted the time it begins. So here we're actually going to do date and time. That's our one exception. The other ones just use short text, date and time. And then the last one, I want the instructor's name. There we go. And I goofed up with the instructor, didn't I? But you can always change it. Maybe. The easiest way to change it if you goof up, and so I'm glad I goofed up, is just to say delete field. There we go. In fact, I'm going to change period to number 2 because that's going to help us later on. So we want to say insert field, and here, the other way to change the data type that goes in it is you can go over here and fields, and then just click it here. So we want a number there, and a period. And then here, delete this one. So, you know, what I've learned in life is, here we go. This one's short text and instructor. What I've learned teaching is you're going to make the same mistakes I do, so it helps when I make them because it shows you how to fix them. So hopefully you can follow along with that. Now, Microsoft Access actually gives every table an automatic primary key and numbers entry, so don't worry about this ID column. That's just their favor to you, and it makes everything easier. Then what you're going to do is you're just going to fill in your class schedule here. If you're online, then, you know, just make one up. If you don't have an actual class schedule, make it up. So my first class is HIBIB 4, and it's in room number P4, and it's actually 5th period, and it begins at 11:55, and the instructor is me, of course. My second class is HSBIB 10, and the room number is still in P4, but this is 6th period, and it starts at 12:25 p.m., and the instructor is still me. And then I'll just do one more in the interest of time, but you need to fill yours completely out. Right now it's CS 1030, and it's in the portable lab, and it's 7th period, obviously, and it starts at 1:05 p.m., and obviously the instructor is me. So, as I said, I want you to put in all your classes there, but fill it out. Get everything filled in, all 8, 9 of your classes, including lunch. Don't worry about putting an instructor for lunch. That doesn't matter too much. So once you have it all filled out, then we can query a database. Querying a database is where you ask the database to give you only a specific set of information so you don't have to scroll through millions and millions and millions of entries. Remember, most companies have thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of entries. So if you have a massive database with hundreds of tables and millions of entries, a query database just brings back everything in that database that you need, and you don't have to look through it. And so there's actually a language that they wrote for querying a database. And that language is SQL. Now, Microsoft Access actually has query tools, and those are helpful and good if you learn how to use them. But the point of this class is to teach you a little bit of computer coding. So we want to click Query Design, and it opens up a design sheet here where we can do all kinds of fun stuff, but we don't really want to do that. So we actually want to click this button right here that says SQL View, and that gives us SQL. So SQL is a very basic, easy programming language, not too hard at all. There's 4 basic commands, even though there's actually SQL has about 50 commands. The 4 basic ones you're going to use are select, from, where, by, and order. Those are your 4 basic commands. And every query ends with a semicolon. Hopefully you can see that little semicolon right there. Other than that, the only other punctuation you'll use are quotation marks and a comma, which we'll get into. So the first query I wanted you to actually write is I wanted you just to sort the whole table by the class period. So that's pretty easy to do. We want to select the columns, and then from is the table. And so we want to select all the columns, which actually is a star. And so if you put a star there, it will select all the columns from the table. If we don't want to select all the columns, we actually have to write the column names here separated by commas, which we'll do in the next query. And we want to select it from table 1. Notice this right here has to be identical to what's right here, or what's right here. And so if you misspelled it there, you got to misspell it in the from line. If it's table 2, you got to write table 2. If it's lowercase table 1, you got to write lowercase table 1. And notice in SQL, you cannot have spaces. It just ruins everything. There is no whereby. We'll get to that in the next one, so we just delete that. And we want to order by period. Once again, everything has to look the same. So capital P period here has to match capital P period here. So whatever you write here has to be there. I'm going to do one more thing just to show you how this works. And I'm going to add a DESC. That means descending or reverse numerical or reverse alphabetical order. We can do ascending, but it automatically puts it in ascending order. So we want to order by period descending. And then when we run our query, we just want to click this button up here. View, right here. We want to change the view to database view. See, it notices I forgot the by, which was silly of me. So order by period descending, and there you go. It reversed the order of the classes for me. I have all of the same information. It sorted it by the period, but it kept all the entries together. So that's how you do the first one. I'm going to go ahead and do just one more for you, but I want you to figure out how to do the last one by yourself. So I'm going to do the second one, though, just to show you. So we're going to create another query, switch to SQL view. And this one, I wanted you to filter out all the classes not taught by your favorite professor. Double negative there. So be careful with this one. I don't want to know if I'm not your favorite professor. So don't let me know who your favorite professor is. So that's just a joke. You can pick whatever professor you want. So once again, you want to select all the columns, right? And we want it from table 1. That's pretty easy, right? And now we're going to use the where clause. Where, and then here's where we get into conditional, operational logic, logical things, ORNANs, something like that. Anyway, I'm sorry. They're called logical operands. There's the word. So the logical operands are things like equals or greater than or lesser than or greater than or equal to or lesser than or equal to or does not equal. So right now we just want equals. So where instructor, once again, instructor here has to match exactly here. It's capital I here, it needs to be capital I over there. Where instructor equals, and then in quotation marks, we have to put Lambert. Anything that's short text, we have to put in quotation marks. That helps the computer code decode that information. We'll talk about that later. Now, when we run it, it's just going to look the exact same because I only have one instructor on mine, and it was me. So just to show you how it works, so I'm going to change this instructor to Schrader. There you go. Enter. And so now it will cut out 7th period when I actually run my query over here. See if I made any mistakes. I didn't. So see how 7th period is cut out. So that's how you do query 2. Now query 3 is a filter and a sort. It says filter out your afternoon classes. As I said, I'm not going to write it for you. If you want to change back, you just click this button and click SQL. I'm not going to write it for you, but I will tell you that if you're filtering out your afternoon classes, you'll need to use the less than symbol here. So it says where the line is going to be where period is less than whatever, whenever you think the afternoon starts, less than 5. So you have to use a less than logical operand there, which is the little triangle bracket that you use in HTML coding. So where period is less than 5. So that you do need to know. So, so then the second half of this assignment is writing SQL queries for a second spreadsheet, how we do that, and we might have to come back and do a second tutorial for this because my screen recorder keeps checking out whenever I create a new table. So we'll see if I can keep it in this video or not. Suspension's building.